I'm Dr. Lisa Thompson of drlisamthompson.com, and in today's video, we're going to continue our discussion on the fear of selling. What are the biggest obstacles that prevent you from making sales in your business? Now, this is a discussion from Grant Cardone's book, Sell or Be Sold. What he did in the book, at the end of the book, he sat down and did a survey of all of the top salespeople and other salespeople, and he said, what are the biggest challenges out there for people making sales? And it didn't matter what industry, and he came up with a list of reasons people struggle at making sales. So this is a continuation of what I learned in that book and the biggest takeaways from that chapter. So let's do a quick review of what some of the big ones we talked about in the previous video. If you didn't watch part 1, highly suggest that you go do that. So some of the big ones that we talked about in the previous video were rejection, negative surroundings, discipline, the economy, competition, and product knowledge. And then follow-up. So today we're going to be focusing on organization. Okay, how organized are you determines, okay, how many sales you're going to make. You need to be focusing on income producing activities. And what people tend to do is to avoid making the sales, they're going to appear to look busy. They'll sit there and get caught up in the minutia of maybe building a blog or setting up their autoresponder, setting up their customer relationship manager software. They'll sit there, well, I'm going to focus on writing these blog posts rather than talking to people, okay? And you don't want to be doing that. You see, with organization, you have to understand there's really 2 types of marketing. There's passive marketing and active marketing. Passive marketing is creating the blog posts, the social media status updates, the Facebook Lives to attract people to you so you can reach out to them. Active prospecting is when you're physically talking to people, whether it's one-on-one, face-to-face, or you're on the phone, or you are on reaching out to people on Facebook Messenger, seeing if they're open to your product, service, or business. And you never want to, and this is something I learned from Grant in this, is never discard your data. Okay, never discard your data. And that means when you are with your prospect and you're talking with your prospect, taking notes on what they're telling you, what their problems are, what are the objections that you're hearing. And you want to store that information because you can use that in another way that can help your prospects in the follow-up. Maybe you have to point them to somebody else. Maybe you have to, there's a way of building up a relationship. You know, a good example of this is, let's say you have someone that you presented your business opportunity to, and they couldn't do it at that time because they were getting to send their firstborn off to college. So the timing wasn't right. So in about a month, you reach back out to them and you say, hey, just checking in. How was it? How's your firstborn attending college? How are they doing? And if you show that you care and that you show an interest in them, they're going to see that as very positive, that you're not out there to sell them, you're out there to help them. And they are going to be able to want to do business with you. So always using a customer relationship manager software can help you organize that data, so you can always go back and look at your fingertips, what your prospect, all the recordings of your conversations on that will definitely help them. The second is called reluctance. This was something where I had such huge anxiety being on the phone. I would literally have panic attacks where the phone felt like such a huge weight. And this is where you start developing reasons for not following up or prospecting people, because there you have that fear. And Grant says this comes from a lack of training, motivation, and education that builds confidence. One thing you need to understand, with a call, and this was something that just totally freed my mind, is that people don't care on the other side of the phone what your feelings and emotions are. The only thing they care about is, are you willing to help them? Are you willing to listen to what their problems are? And that's what you have to focus on. The call is not about you. The call is about them. So when you take the attention off of you and focus it on them, you're going to feel that whole elephant and weight from your shoulders lifted. And so the best way to overcome call reluctance is take action, because the more you do it, the better you're going to get. The more you're going to anticipate, because a lot of times there's going to be a pattern when people are giving you objections in the sales process. And understanding where they happen and you take notes, you will develop your anticipation skills. The next reason that people have challenges in making sales is filling the pipeline. Leads are the lifeblood for your business. And if you do not have enough people to talk to, it leads to desperation. And this is where I really, it's a real shame that you see this in the network marketing space, is people are set, your list of 100, lists of, friends, family, people and you make out that list, and a lot of times these people aren't interested. And so a lot of times you hear that no so often that it can really demoralize you. And so people don't want to go out. They have this reluctance to go out and meet new people for the fear of hearing the word no. So that's why it's really important to understand attraction marketing, where you learn how to attract people to you. And the way attraction marketing works is you build an audience and engage your audience before you can sell to your audience. And an engaged audience will keep coming back and buying from you, because people won't see you as selling, because you are providing so much value. So you need to know who your audience is. Okay, who are you going to target, and then create content that will serve the marketplace. The next, and this is one of the biggest ones, is closing. Okay, closing is an extension of selling. And I love this from the book, because Grant says, selling identifies needs, selecting the right solution on how your product or service or business solves the problem. What closing is just getting your lead to take action. So people mistake that, thinking closing is the part of the sale where you ask for the money. That's part of it. But closing is getting your lead to take action. So you're actually closing at the moment you're seeing if people are open to looking at your business opportunity. So if you're giving them if you're seeing if they're open and you're going to give them an out, the close is to see if they're going to say, yes, I'm interested. Okay? And it's just getting them to go through the next step. So that next step could be in the prospecting and in the invite, getting them to watch your video. Okay? Then the next part of taking action is to follow up and talk with them. The next action would be to see if they're going to be a customer or a rep. Or if they're not, the time isn't right for either, get them on your newsletter and follow up with them via email. So closing, if you think about this, is it's really a process of taking people who, typically are cold market, they don't know who you are or what you're about, and guiding through a series of steps of building rapport, getting them to take action where they become a warm market, because people buy from those who they know, like, and trust. So think about closing as getting them to take the next step. So look at where your prospects are in the sales process and get them to that next step. Take a person as far as they can see, and when they get there, they will see further. Okay? So your closing skills are going to get good when you listen to your prospect. Don't just hear. Listen and take notes on what they're telling you. Calls not returned. You know, Grant said this, and I've heard this from other top earners. They have more people that don't return their calls, and they don't follow up with them. They just don't reach back out to them, than people actually calling them back. But they don't sit there and crumble like a cracker. What Grant and the top earners say is that when people don't respond back, it doesn't mean they're not interested. It's that something else has come up that takes their time away. So Grant says don't take it personally, and just keep the flow of communication open. Keep following up with them. And so what you never want to do is never bring up previous unreturned calls and messages and make them feel wrong for not calling back. So if people haven't responded to you in more than a couple of days, I learned this from Ray Higdon, is you want to just send a message that's saying, hey, sorry I've been so busy, I haven't had a chance to follow up. How are you? And all you do is you want to get that communication up and running again. Seek conversation over conversion. Then there's fear. People are afraid, okay? And you have to understand that fear isn't real. And the way that you kill fear is to take action. And what Grant said, what helped him become one of the top salespeople, is he looked at the very thing that he feared in the sales process is the very thing that will give you your breakthrough. And that was the thing that he had to master to increase his sales. So if you're really struggling with fear over some part of the sales process or whatever obstacle it is, I suggest reading the book, The Obstacle is the Way, because the one obstacle that is hindering your success is the thing that you have to do to experience it. And handling fear is a decision. And when the minute you take action, that fear goes away. And so what Grant does, and this is how he was able to get over his fear of making the sale. You know, a lot of people don't know this about Grant, but Grant hated sales. He absolutely hated sales. And the only reason he was in sales is, if you don't know his story, he was a drug addict. And the only thing that, and the only job that he was offered was in the car sales. And so he had to learn how to become a good car salesman. And so what he did is he looked at his prospect list, and the prospects that were what he called his biggest elephants, all right, the chicken list of people he was afraid to follow up with. He did those follow-ups first, and it gave him such momentum. So fear. And then there's people's emotions, okay? When you see your prospect or lead get an emotional or has an emotional outburst, Grant says that means they're getting closer to a sale. And when you see that emotion coming out from people in your leads, don't take it personally. You see, what differentiates the top earners from the wannabes is that top earners aren't motivated by making money. They focus on impact in serving others. So sometimes in that sales process, they're not the right person for them. All right, the top earners realize that not everyone's going to be right for them, and they will refer them to somebody else. Okay, they don't let others' emotions get to them. They have a vision of who they want to become and how they want to impact the world, that they don't waste their time with people who aren't very interested or too emotional. Grant gives this exercise, and this is something that I found really powerful, and I suggest that you do, is think of a person who helped you in your life and made you feel good about yourself. Write down those 5 qualities that person has that makes you feel good, and how you can use each of these qualities to close more sales. Now, did you find this video helpful today? If you did, leave a comment and share. Make sure you are staying tuned for part 3 to know when that video is going to go live. You can see it on my Facebook fan page, so make sure you follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/Dr. Lisa Thompson. Or if you're watching me on YouTube right now, just click on the subscribe button you see in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. If you're on Facebook, you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel right from my fan page. Just look for the tab on the left-hand side. Now, if you really want to develop your sales skills, I highly suggest that you check out Grant's store. You can see the link down on your screen. I also have it in the comments section. It'll be the first pinned comment. He has a lot of great training that can help you with that. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.